Welcome back to Shoot the Shot, an NBA and variety show. It is December 3rd, 2021. The year is quickly coming to an end. Basketball season is in full swing. Jonathan Osborne, as always, joined by my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke, what's going on, bro? How are you?
I'm good. I'm just hanging out. We're in December. It's Santa Claus month. And
Or, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, you know, depending who you're asking,
yes, thank you. That's why we keep Jonathan around. He keeps me level-headed here. All of those things. Yes, it's also those things. We're off to a hot start, Jonathan.
God, it is trying to strike me dead right now. He's like, just talk about Christmas. Just talk about Christmas. I'm okay, folks. We are off to a hot start.
Oh,
wow.
Oh, no. Yeah. So
just gonna drink some water here. Wow.
We're yeah. Okay. All right. Well, guys, that's the tone for this episode.
Yeah.
We've got a lot, to talk about here while Jonathan regroups here.
I'm good.
Got a couple different topics to hit on. One being one of the hottest topics, right? And Michael Porter Jr. So, as you guys know, he is out with a lower back injury, is what I think they're classifying it as, right?
Yeah. So he's had a history of lower lumbar injuries, specifically herniated discs. Everything that I've looked up so far can't find specifically what the injury is. The team is just classifying it as a lower back injury, but given his history of the herniated discs, they go in and then they do the discectomy, which, Luke, I don't know if you're familiar with like herniated discs in the spine. I have a few myself. So what it is basically in every like disc in your vertebrae, there's like the bone, and in the middle is like a jelly almost. So a normal disc that's not been disrupted at all, like the jelly is very much in the center. And then think of getting like a jelly donut and squeezing it just a little bit to where like the side of the donut is about to give way and like the jelly comes loose. So that's a bulging disc when it's just kind of bulging. And then a herniation is actually where that gel starts to leak out of the disc. So you've squeezed the donut, the jelly is coming all the way out of the side of it. And at that point, it can really irritate like your spinal cord and all your nerves and everything like that. So it can be incredibly painful. I remember the last time that I was having like a lot of issues with my back before I went and had physical therapy. I played basketball one night with a few buddies. We probably played like 3 or 4 pickup games. About an hour and a half in, like right as we're wrapping up, I could not cut without like just this horrible shooting pain, basically my entire spine, and I would just drop to my knees. The next day I'm at work. I was working in the medical field. I had a pile of charts in my hand. I went to just turn like very normally, and like 5 or 6 times that day just dropped to my knees. So I can't imagine what it's like trying to play basketball at the highest level like that.
9 games, and I mean, the statistics are there, Jonathan. Like he suffered these 9 games heavily to his stats this year. I mean, last year shot 6.3 attempts a game, 44.5% from 3 last year. Absolutely ridiculous. And then this year, 1 less attempt, 5.3 attempts from 3, 20%. 20.8% from 3, and shooting 36% from the field, essentially. And last year shot 54. So playing 29 minutes a game, played all 9 games that he's been in. Yeah, I mean, clearly last year he was good, right? And was on track to win MIP this year, as we talked about on the show, with Jamal Murray being out. I mean, everything was there for him, man, and it really sucks for injuries in this sport are brutal. So it really does stink. But Denver's got a lot of money wrapped up in him.
Well, going back, to his time in college,
yeah.
So a lot of people remember him at Missouri. He's the 14th pick in the first round in the 2018 draft. Played 1 game at Missouri, and then had the issues, with the herniated discs in the back, had the whole discectomy, came back 4 months later, played the last 2 games of the year for Mizzou. And then going into the draft, it was, he's talked about it now, where he just woke up one morning getting ready for a workout and just like basically couldn't get out of bed. Like he just
Yeah.
had horrible like shooting pains like down his leg, I think
Hmm.
is what he described. And I've experienced that where like the sciatic nerve is just like so irritated. You really just can't move without that just being the worst like burning pain ever. So the Clippers doctor at that point basically he's like this guy probably will never play basketball again, and still was passed over, was one of the most talented players in that draft by all accounts. Goes 14 to the Denver Nuggets, has another back surgery. They rehabbed his entire rookie year, and then he comes back. Basically that second year plays 55 games, averages 9.3 points in 16 minutes a game, 50% from the floor, 42% from three. And then last year, you kind of touched on it, but the volume goes
Hmm.
crazy and the efficiency actually even gets a little bit better. So then in 31 minutes a game, 13.4 attempts from the floor, 6.3 attempts from three. He was shooting 54% from the floor, 44% from the 3 point line, a 64% effective field goal percentage. And I picked Michael Porter Jr. this year to be my most improved player because with the uptick in volume, we saw his
Hmm.
efficiency kind of stay at the same level.
Right.
Without Jamal Murray, I thought he was just going to go crazy. And then it's 9 games into the season. They're
Hmm.
playing Houston, I believe it was, and he goes up for a layup and just completely like muffs the layup, and he's
Right.
been out ever since. And yeah, he had surgery on the first, so I believe that was yesterday. They announced that, and yeah, he's out indefinitely. He's probably going to be out the entire season if I had to guess.
Right.
It's a big blow for Denver again,
Hmm.
playing without Jamal Murray, and they were really going to be leaning very heavily on him this year. So
Right.
hope
I mean,
I hope
yeah.
he's one of my favorite players to watch. I hope he's gonna recover quickly, and hopefully he can come back at the end of the season at some point for the Nuggets.
Yeah. You hope a lot. I mean, I know you and I hope this that like you hope he does not become a what if story in the NBA. I mean, this is a guy who is very talented, is just seems to have incredible potential as we saw last year. In college, we thought we were going to get to see it. Gets injured with his back, played only 3 games in Missouri, started one, so he's on minute restrictions probably in those other 2 games. Missouri fans are probably sick because they stink at basketball, and so they didn't even get to have any glory in what they saw Michael Porter Jr. last year. So it doesn't even feel like he even went to college because of his injuries. And now I really hope it doesn't end up feeling like he didn't even play in the NBA as a result of these injuries. Best of luck to him. But man, they just have so much money in that extension wrapped up in him and Jamal Murray. They got some troubled times ahead, and they're clearly not rushing Jamal Murray back after his ACL injury. And I mean, on media day, he talked about how like a few months before that, Jamal Murray did that he couldn't even like lift his foot, up from out of the bed. So I mean, I don't know, man. There's a much like in Orlando and our fellow franchise that we root for. Um, they have some injury problems in Denver.
Well, obviously, you look at a guy like Michael Porter Jr., offensively, you definitely think he has like superstar potential, more so than Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac is like the other side of the coin, like
Right.
superstar defensive talent, but everybody knows that this is a bucket-driven league. But I definitely feel better in the fact that basically the Denver Nuggets have more money invested in Michael Porter Jr. Basically it's like the same as Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac combined. So
Yeah.
um, I feel very happy and very excited about the future of the Magic, which we're going to talk more about in a little bit. We're just really talking hot topics today. Michael Porter Jr. We're going to talk about a team that is as hot as the sun,
Wow.
the Phoenix Suns. And then Cole Anthony, a man who is on fire, and his dad was on fire today on Twitter. Actually, we'll talk
Yeah.
more about that in a little bit. All right, Luke, let's talk a little bit about the Phoenix Suns. Best record in the league right now, tied with Golden State at 18-3. The Phoenix Suns, they started their season with a loss to the Denver Nuggets. Then they followed that up with a win against the Lakers. Then they had 2 losses in a row, October 23rd and October 22nd, 27th to the Trailblazers and the Sacramento Kings, which they actually only lost that game by 3. Luke, they have not lost a game since October 27th. We're recording this on December the 2nd. They're getting ready to play the Detroit Pistons in just about 7 minutes here. We're recording just before 9 o'clock. So, Devin Booker was hurt in the Warriors game. He's going to, it looks like he's going to miss some time with a hamstring injury. But the Phoenix Suns, the hottest team in basketball right now, Luke.
Yeah, and a little while back, you and I think it was right before the season, we're talking about finals runs, right? And you alluded to it initially and kind of said that finals run was fluky for the Suns because they caught some breaks with injuries due to other teams in the postseason and all those sorts of things. Has your opinion changed on, and maybe at the time you were still on board the Suns train of them being able to make it back to the championship this year? I can't remember, but if you weren't then, are you now? Like, is this changing your mind, or do you think this is just kind of they've gotten hot?
I mean, obviously they've gotten hot. I mean, I don't care how good a team is. You don't win 18 games in a row without
Yeah,
like just everybody kind of being on fire and very much being in sync.
yeah,
I mean, you look at the Phoenix Suns right now. Defensive rating. That's really where they're getting things done right now. Second in the league with a 103.5 defensive rating. A whole 4 points, almost a whole 4 points higher than the Golden State Warriors, which is just ridiculous. Shows you the level that they're playing at currently. So still sixth in offensive rating in the league. You don't win 18 games in a row without being elite on both sides of the ball.
mm,
I really got a kick out of JJ Redick again the other
yeah,
day on First Take, going toe to toe with Stephen A. Smith, claiming that the Phoenix Suns championship window has closed. Would I bet the Suns right now to win a championship this year? I probably wouldn't. I mean, how many times do we have to see Chris Paul like either get hurt or just
yeah,
not perform well in the playoffs? Like until he actually gets it done all the way, I'm just gonna be like, can Chris Paul really do that? But like JJ Redick talked about, it's other guys, they're role players that have been every bit as good as they were last year, and in certain scenarios, even better this year. When you talk about guys like Cam Johnson, my North Carolina Tar Heel. You talk about guys, like Mikal Bridges and Campaign, DeAndre Ayton, obviously playing really well as well. So I don't know that I'm you can't say that they're not contenders, but like I'm still waiting for the Lakers just to get healthy so we can kind of have a real idea of what the Lakers are. I mean, we don't have to talk about the LeBron thing, but it's just very strange how anybody else gets COVID and they're out for 10 days. LeBron James at home taking a few tests himself, and now all of a sudden he's playing tomorrow. We don't have to get into that. We understand it's LeBron James. He has
yeah,
a different set of rules than everyone else, and if you argue that, I think you're kidding yourself. But yeah, the Warriors to me are the best team in the West right now.
and they're gonna
The
get better.
Suns beat the Warriors the other night, but no Klay Thompson yet. Steph didn't play his best. Yeah, man, I'm so excited to see Klay back. They're gonna get James Wiseman back at some point as well. Your boy Jordan Poole, he's looked really really great this year. Yeah, my pick is still the Warriors in the West, but the Suns have been incredible. You don't win 18 games in a row, spanning two separate months now. Um, really 3 months. The end of October, the entire month of November, and here we are in the beginning of December. It's been incredible. I'm a big Devin Booker fan. I have been for quite a few years, but he's going to miss some time with the hamstring. So my guess is that that winning streak comes to an end this weekend when they play the Warriors again.
Yeah, and what I'll say as well, right, is looking at kind of we've only seen in our lifetime of like actually remembering basketball so many win streaks during a regular season that go span past even 15 games, right? I mean, you look at the last team to do it was the Warriors in 15-16, 24 wins. The Heat team was the first team I remember specifically. 2012, 2013, 27 wins in a row. Couldn't be stopped by anybody. And then the
I was
Rockets were in
at
our lifetime,
just
but
just
I don't remember.
a little sidebar. I was at the 27th game that the Heat won that year in
Oh,
Orlando.
really?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, and that was something that, like I said, that was the first one I remember specifically happening. I believe at the time I was like, I don't know, what was that, 2012, 2013. So, I don't know how old I was, what, 16, something like that. And then, yeah, and then you had the Rockets in 07, 08, had 22 in a row. I don't remember that at all, but that was in our lifetime. But there's one thing that I'm happy that the Suns are handling it this way. Devin Booker right now out with a hamstring injury, and they said he'll be out for a few games, basically showing everybody like this win streak is great because we're getting stuff in the win column, but also we're not putting all of our marbles into building, breaking any records about the longest win streak. You remember the last team to do that was the Warriors. And Steve Kerr that year in 15-16 said, I think we were a little too gung ho on doing that instead of resting our guys, and we saw history being made. And then they go on to that was the year they blew that 3-1 lead, and all those things. So he had said that, right? He was like, I think we put a lot into that win streak, and we probably handled it wrong.
And
But
I think that's easy for him to say, like, because they didn't win the finals, but like they were down 3-1 against the Thunder and came back. If
yeah,
Draymond doesn't punch LeBron James in the balls, we're having a much different conversation right now. And
yeah,
I remember the Warriors win streak, but I must admit I forgot it was literally from the first game of the season. They started the
mhm,
season 24-0.
right.
That is
Well,
I don't think that will
you
ever be
come out
done
the
again.
gate,
That's
and I'm sure that
insane.
at that point you have players like Steph, and Clay and all of them, right? I mean, beginning of the season, their legs are fresh. They're fresh out of training camp and preseason, and they're like, "Nah, coach, we're good. Like, you don't need to limit anything. Let's just win games. We don't need to. Don't risk us burning out. We're fine. We're fresh." And I think that regardless, I'm still glad that the Suns are handling it the way that they are. That they're able to kind of not get too greedy and understand they're playing the Warriors on Friday. Today, as you guys are listening to this, they play tonight. So the fact that Devin Booker's probably going to miss that game shows you that you're exercising some self control, and I think it's the right move for them to do that and worry about the health of D Book after this big stretch that he's kind of put the team on his back with CP and all those guys and those role players stepping up. I think it's a great move. But yeah, I mean, with the what we're seeing from the Suns right now, I mean, don't we can't take it for granted because it's pretty remarkable what they're doing.
Yeah. Anytime a team goes on a win streak like this, you have to put them in the conversation, of contenders. I'm really interested to see if they have like another level to get to, as silly as that sounds,
Yeah.
18 games in a row. But like for them this year, it's all about getting it done in the playoffs. They make the finals last year. You can argue whatever the Milwaukee Bucks getting to the finals was kind of
Hmm.
fluky. The Phoenix Suns getting to the finals kind of fluky for them, and that's why they're being cautious with Devin Booker because sure, it's great that they're on this 18 win streak, but they're not going to jeopardize their chance of going deep into the playoffs
Yeah.
by playing a guy when he obviously needs some rest.
Right. And I wanna play one game with you real quick here, Jonathan. I'm gonna list the teams ahead of the Suns in Vegas odds, according to VegasInsider.com, about who can win a championship. And you tell me if you think come playoffs, whether it be finals if they're an East team or conference finals if it's a West team, if they beat them or not, okay? So number one, Brooklyn Nets. Do the Suns do it?
Right now, I will say yes without Kyrie.
Okay. Golden State, they are second, plus 550. This is obviously with Clay coming back.
The Warriors right now would be if I had to pick any team, they would be my favorite to win the title because
Okay.
Clay's coming back at some point.
Yeah. The Milwaukee Bucks, third best odds, plus 700. Do you think the Suns can beat them?
Without Brooke Lopez, I think the Suns can.
Okay. The Lakers.
Right now, it's hard to say. It's hard to say that the Suns can't beat the Lakers. We have
Yeah.
no. It's just the unknown with the Lakers right now, but I would lean yes.
And the only other team ahead of the Suns in the terms of their finals odds is the Utah Jazz. Do you think the Suns beat the Jazz in a 7 game series?
I think they do. Yeah.
Right now, Jazz sitting at 14-7. Not a bad record at all. If two teams in the league didn't only have in their conference didn't have only 3 losses, they'd probably be 2 or 1. So,
And Mike
um,
Conley's missed a few games too. So
right. So I mean, I think I would say that I agree with everything you said there. I think that, yeah, I think that they could get it done against a few of those teams, but The Warriors, man, it's tough not to jump on that train right now.
And I'm having so much fun watching the Warriors again. For so many years, I was like, oh, I hate those damn Warriors.
Yeah.
And now I'm having fun again with them. So, yeah. All right, Luke, let's take a quick break to hear from our friends at Manscaped, and then we will talk about Cole Anthony. Guys, this holiday season, I'm giving thanks to our friends at Manscaped. Do I tell my extended family that I have the Performance Package 4.0 from the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming? Not to mention, it includes their Lawnmower 4.0. Gift yourself Manscaped or the man in your life who needs it. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH, that's SIXTH, by going to manscaped.com.
Think your holiday spread is good? It's time to give thanks to the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, the perfect package for your package. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. Think of it as a cornucopia for your balls. And can't forget the Manscaped's liquid formulations. They're like the pumpkin pie and ice cream after Thanksgiving dinner. You can't live without it. The Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Reviver toner spray. Your balls will be living in turkey heaven with these formulations.
Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH, SIXTH, at manscaped.com. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of all from Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. All right, Luke, let's talk about the the sensation, the experience that is Cole Anthony right now. So we'll talk more about his pops, Greg Anthony, in just a moment here, and some, I don't want to call it controversy, but there's a little friction, Magic Twitter today with Papa Greg Anthony. But Cole Anthony last night helped lead the Orlando Magic to a 108-103 win over the Denver Nuggets. In that second half to start the game, it was not looking good for the Orlando Magic, but specifically Cole Anthony, Franz Wagner as well, helped the Magic come all the way back. Franz Wagner takes the lead on a three late in the fourth quarter, and then the Magic just kind of ride the team to the win there. But Cole Anthony last night, and now my stats are not loading. Here we go. In the second half last night, 16 points, 6 of 10 from the floor, 1 of 3 from the three-point line, added 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 turnovers. Finished the game with 24 points.
How many assists did he finish with?
He finished the night with 7 assists.
And 0 turnovers, huh?
One turnover on the night, but it was zero turnovers in the second half.
Yeah.
But Cole Anthony, especially him and Monte Morris, really just going back and forth with the mid-range jumpers for the better part of that fourth quarter. Every time Cole hit a shot, I was like, okay, we're going to win this game. Every time Monte came back and hit another jumper, I was like, okay, we're going to lose this game. It just was, the game was really hanging in the balance until Franz Wagner hit that three. But really what I want to talk about is just how much better Cole Anthony has been this year as opposed to his rookie year last season, and just how much better he makes the Magic. So he missed, 6 games? They lost the game that before Cole went out against the Brooklyn Nets, but then lost 6 in a row without him. He comes back, and they beat what everybody thinks is going to be a playoff team in the Denver Nuggets at home. I had been ranting and screaming and borderline crying about the fan base and the lack of energy in Amway recently. And by all accounts, the energy last night in Amway was incredible. It was an incredible atmosphere, a very fun game to be at. Luke, what are your thoughts, about Cole Anthony? Because I don't know about you, I did not see this coming from Cole this year.
Yeah, and it's just been essentially his efficiency, right? Because we talked about it. I mean, last year he played 27 minutes a game, playing 34 minutes a game now. His per 36 numbers, albeit are a little higher now, but not a ton. The biggest difference is just the fact that he's doing it with more minutes this year, and also so much more efficiently. I mean, like you said, I mean, he's averaging, his basically 20 minutes a game, shooting 7.5 threes. Last year he shot like 3.7, and shot 33%. So just the stark contrast between this year and last year has been enormous. And it shows, what happens when you've got a full off season that's not weird, right? I mean, that whole class had a weird, off season with no preseason, things like that. So, I mean, he's been incredible. And I mean, one thing that Eric Fawcett brought up to me here recently was the Magic. He was looking at Magic lineup data. This was as of like I think a week ago, right? And said, guess who leads the Magic in net rating differential, which is the net rating when on the floor versus when off of it. And it's a way of looking at a player's value to that specific team. I guessed and just kind of guessed Franz Wagner because I wasn't for sure. I was like, no way, it's just an easy question that he's asking me. And he was telling me this because of how much higher Cole's number is than everybody else. He said Cole Anthony, second on the team is Wendell Carter Jr. at 10.9 of the net rating differential. Cole, first on the team at plus 22. And Eric went on, who knows way more about analytics than I ever will, went on to say, like, that is crazy, the difference between the first and second guy on the team to have it that high at plus 22 in the net rating differential. And it really speaks volumes to what and who Cole has become and what he's already means to the franchise. I mean, he has put himself on a trajectory to be one of the favorite Magic players of all time.
Can I tell you what's crazy about his like net rating differential?
Yeah.
It's even higher now.
Really?
It's at 23.6 now. Leads the Magic. Now, to Wendell and Franz, theirs is much improved. Wendell's at 18.4 and Franz is at 18.5. But Cole still very comfortably leading the Magic at 23.6. Which means per 100 possessions, the Magic are outscoring their opponents 23.6 points with Cole Anthony on the floor.
You know how frustrating that's got to be on the Magic, and every time you're in the game, the team seems to be winning, but somehow you've just racked up all these L's. That's got to be frustrating. But thankfully, Cole is very transparent, very upbeat, and seems to not have lost. The team hasn't lost any luster in his eyes. He's still very energetic. We saw that in his post-game conference last night. Feels like money.
Can I ask you a question about his post-game conferences?
Yeah.
Do you think that he feels any pressure to keep those going now and to like one-up himself each time? I feel like there has to be a little bit of that because people make such a big deal about it.
Yeah, one is a good point. I don't know though, like because that's Cole, right? Like I don't think there's been a moment in press conferences or interviews, whatever, that Cole Anthony hasn't been himself. I think he's just high energy, and I think that yes, the cameras come on. He's what we call, Jonathan, a ham, right? He loves the lights. That's Cole. He's a kid, man. Yeah. If you give a kid this much money, you give a kid this much attention, he's a kid. He's having fun, thankfully, despite the team's record, and he's just that's him. I think that he is unapologetically himself. Loves the spotlight. I think there's no denying that. He probably wouldn't deny that. He loves attention. But he's been a lot of fun, man. So I don't know that he necessarily feels like he has to one-up himself. I think he just thoroughly enjoys it enough to where it's not pressure for him.
I just think
he's the man. Like when you're the man.
Thinking back, it's like each time we get one of these from Cole, he leaves us with like a gem. Whether it's the yeah, or it's the facts, the facts with Dante, or now it's the I feel like money, man. Like every time, that's what each time is he thinking like I got to come up with something new that's gonna stick because like right now he has not missed with the post game interviews and like everybody's expecting that of him now.
Yeah, well, I mean it's now garnering attention from people who aren't Magic fans.
Yeah, every single post-game interview, you see it on Bleacher Report, everything.
Yeah, and I have friends who are like, man, Cole slowly is becoming the best interview in the league. He's hot. He might be hopping Anthony Edwards.
It's very close. I love me some Anthony Edwards.
They're very different. They're very different in the way that they're funny. Anthony Edwards is funny, but I don't know if he knows how funny he is. Cole Anthony knows that he sees his stuff everywhere, right? Oh, I'm on
Yeah.
House of Highlights, I'm on Bleacher Report, I'm in ESPN for all this stuff. I think he's just getting more comfortable, which is why he has no problem delivering us
No
even more of
filter.
those gems along the way. He's electric.
Yeah, I mean, so if we're just looking, and people are putting him into the most improved player conversation, as they should. If you just look at the raw numbers, he's up 7 points per game last year. Last year as a rookie, 12.9 points per game. This year, 19.9. He's taken a leap in assists, up to 5.9 from 4.1. Taken a leap in rebounding, 6.8, up from 4.7. He's increased his free throw percentage to 86%, up from 83%. He's increased his effective field goal percentage up to 50% from 44%. He's averaging a higher percentage on 2-point makes, on threes, his field goal percentage, like every statistical category, he's improved. He's averaging half a turnover more, but almost 2 assists more per game. You kind of live with that. And he's definitely very much still learning and improving as a playmaker. And I think he's taken leaps and bounds improving in that area. But it's just been incredible. We've needed a player like this for so long. Like Evan Fournier, we've talked multiple times. There were years where by statistical measures, he was considered one of the most clutch players in the league, but it didn't always feel like that. Cole Anthony, I would bet it has got to be towards the top of the league in terms of shooting in the clutch. And when he takes a shot in the clutch, you feel like it is going in. Yeah. Every shot he took last night down the stretch when him and Monte Morris were going back and forth, each shot he pulled up, it felt like it was going in.
Yeah, and he's one of those players, man. He just catches fire. And the absolute biggest part of the entire thing is his confidence. I mean, it shows in his interviews, as we talked about, and it shows in his game. I mean, and that's why, he was deemed chucker by us last year, right?
Us?
I mean, he was by me,
yeah,
but you didn't deny it.
I didn't know. I didn't fight you on it. No.
Yeah. So I mean, that he earned that title last year because that's what he did. And if you become efficient enough, no one calls you a chucker anymore, because you're only a chucker if we feel like you're going to miss a majority of the time. Most of the time that he puts the ball up, it looks like it's going in, and you feel it because you know how confident he is. And NBA players say that all the time, right? They're like, "Whoa, when I shoot, I think every shot's going in." You got to think that way. But Cole Anthony epitomizes that, and is able to just bring it to new heights. His level of play, he's more comfortable, and I think more and more that he goes, he's going to get better. He's going to be introduced to some better players here soon, again with Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz. I think if you're the Magic, we don't have to get into this, but if you're the Magic, you still hand Cole the keys, man. Offensively, I think he's the best offensive player on the team, and it's not even close, even with Markelle and J.I. healthy.
So right now, I'm going through clutch stats in the league. So for players who have played in greater than or equal to 3 games with clutch minutes, averaging greater than or equal to 1 field goal attempt in the clutch, Cole Anthony's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th in the league. Right now, he's shooting 53.8% in the clutch. Like, I don't care who you ask, shooting 53% at any time in the game is good, especially in the clutch. So that just goes to show you that Cole Anthony absolutely is clutch. So
he shoots better than his field goal percentage right now. He's shooting 42% from the field right now on 16 attempts. And in the clutch, if you're able to do that, like you said, I mean, he's shooting better than his normal field goal percentage.
Yeah. So there was like we mentioned, there was a little bit of friction on Magic Twitter today. So if you listen to the Locked On Magic episode, from Philip Rossman Reich that came out today, Thursday, December 2nd, there's a little 10-second section in the podcast where he's talking about Jalen Suggs and kind of how him being out, with the thumb injury is going to help him improve a little bit. And he mentions that he believes that Jalen Suggs is a lot more talented than Cole Anthony. And he says it twice, says a lot more talented than Cole Anthony. And I did not take that as a knock to Cole Anthony. I thought it was a compliment to Jalen Suggs.
Yeah.
Incredibly complimentary of Cole Anthony, really throughout last year, throughout this season so far, throughout that podcast episode, if you listen to the whole thing, it's very apparent that Philip Rossman Reich is incredibly high on Cole Anthony.
Yeah.
However, it's very obvious that Greg Anthony, the father of Cole Anthony, listens to Locked On Magic, listened to that podcast episode in particular. Philip Rossman Reich was talking with some others on Twitter. I'm going to pull this up and read this now. Philip Rossman Reich. I'm going to Greg Anthony's Twitter here, so folks just bear with me. From the Orlando Magic Daily Twitter, he said, I don't think I was crazy to say Jalen Suggs is probably the most talented and hyped guard the Magic have drafted since Penny. And Penny was drafted in 1993, not a great lineage of long-lasting guards in Orlando. This all stemmed from the fact that the Magic have not had a guard or wing player to average 20 points per game or more since the 04-05 season by Steve Francis. So it's been, we're looking at, that would be 16, 17 seasons at this point. So Greg Anthony, read that, obviously heard the podcast, and I'm just going to read, just kind of paraphrase what he says. He says, I was going to comment about something in this podcast, but I'm not. Jalen is a wonderfully talented young man. We miss him while he's out. I'll leave it at that. But then goes on to tweet more, and this is where it gets interesting. He says, it's interesting to hear a narrative about my son who had a horrific freshman year in college, didn't shoot the ball well, didn't handle his team being very good. It hurt his draft stock, which it should have. He comes to Orlando, doesn't have a summer league, wasn't given the keys, wasn't ready initially like a lot of other kids coming out of college after 1 year, but he was considered by most a top 5 talent, didn't complain, never wavered, just put in the work, continued to grow. You could say he was snubbed for all rookie as well. By most accounts, he had a solid rookie campaign. His reward was the team drafted another great young man with the 5th pick. He didn't complain, didn't feel sorry for himself, just went about doing the work. There was talks of him being a 6th man as if he's not and then the tweet kind of ends there. So people were like, uh-oh, Greg Anthony is not happy about this quote-unquote narrative, which, Luke, I want to ask you about in a second, but this, to me, doesn't seem like something that was just spurred by 2 sentences that Philip Rossman Reich said in one tweet. This sounds like something that Greg has been feeling for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you can relate to this, and I can relate to this now being a dad. If you feel like your son's being slighted, even if it means someone else is just really largely getting a compliment, you feel like your kid's being slighted.
Papa Bear.
Yeah, exactly. And someone tweeted that out after the Cole Anthony game, the other day, where he had that sensational game we just talked about in the fourth quarter and everything, second half. And someone said, he's better than his pops, essentially. And Greg Anthony said he's better than a lot of people's pops. Like
he's better than my dad.
Yeah, he's better than me, and he's better than a lot of your father. So Greg has been, for the just very supportive, right? He's a dad. I can't fault him for that, because I can't act like I wouldn't have Twitter fingers either after hearing people say that and whatever. And he's probably just defensive of his son, because he even said he had not a good freshman year at UNC, and kind of salvaged his rookie year that with his efficiency wise got up to that 30% from 3 number, 39 point something from the field, got his numbers up from where they were, because they were ugly at the beginning of the season, right? And so he worked his butt off to improve it. And Greg Anthony probably, he gets front row seats to the work that he puts in. So I totally get it. Philip Rossman Reich fully entitled to his opinion, whether people agree with that statement about Suggs being a lot more talented. But yeah, I think that, both guys are coming from the right place. They both love Cole, like we've said. Philip loves Cole. So I think that it's just Papa Bear being Papa Bear in this instance.
Who I feel bad for in this whole situation is Jalen.
Yeah,
Jalen's just minding his own business, is getting dragged
Anthony's
into this all of a sudden
on Twitter.
The great thing is, though, I know this isn't causing issues in the locker room. Cole Anthony might hear that and not care at all.
He'll say that's dad being dad.
It's dad being dad. You know what I mean? And again, he's totally entitled to that. I feel like people were making it kind of a bigger deal than it really was. Some people are tagging us saying oh, this is going to be a problem, and no, it's if somebody came to me and was like, oh yeah, well my kid is a lot smarter than your kid, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? I'll be ready to fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I totally get it. I don't know that I agree that Jalen is a lot more talented than Cole Anthony. I would like, it's an argument right now if he is more talented at all than
Right.
Cole at this point. I mean, Cole is toting that thing right now. Like Cole
Yeah.
is that dude. Like he is
Right.
the heart and soul of the Magic right now, and
Yeah.
there's no room. And Philip would even tell you that. Philip has said that a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for Philip because, first of all, the guy never says a bad word about anybody, and
Right.
has been so complimentary of Cole. I think he was, just trying to make a point on the fact that like Jalen is going to be just fine. But yeah, that's the thing about having like a public platform. Sometimes you have to be careful of what you say. If the players
You have
don't
no idea
listen,
who
someone
listens.
close to them does. So like,
Yeah.
Gary Harris's mom hears us at one point, she's gonna be coming for the throat, especially you. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man,
Yeah,
Cole
no
Anthony
doubt.
has just been incredible. I did not see this coming, and I think, Greg is talking about this narrative. That's the last thing I want to ask you about. He's talking about this narrative around Cole Anthony. Like, I think the only narrative around Cole was legitimately like maybe he's not a starter in the league. Maybe he's like a 6-man kind of guy, just a flamethrower off the bench, because you saw him inefficient at times last year. He's definitely worked on his shooting this offseason. The floater has been a huge addition to his game. People were saying that all last season, that was something that he needed as he was struggling to finish at the rim. And as he's implemented that and made that more of part of his game, he's finishing at a higher rate and it has been more efficient. So, yeah, and the playmaking has been a revelation.
Right.
Like he's really making a concerted effort to be a better playmaker. And those are things that we just didn't have a lot of evidence of last year. We saw what we saw at that point. So I don't think anyone was like so totally wrong in making that assessment, because a lot of people did. But Greg, Magic fans, everybody loves Cole. Everybody loves Cole. So,
Well, I think that
I get it.
Yeah, and Greg, and last thing I'll say, Greg is very in tune to what is being said specifically about Cole, right? Like that's the whole thing here, right? And I think that you could argue last year there wasn't a huge narrative about Cole one way or the other, solely because he played for the Magic and he was the 15th pick. And I think that, so the experts and people tuned in had opinions on probably a narrative on Cole, and I think that Greg just saw that and was probably magnified because there really wasn't too many people as far as giving their opinion, unless except after Cole game winners and things like that last year that he really kind of highlighted his rookie year. So I think I'd argue there wasn't a huge narrative on Cole one way or the other. I think now he's got all the he's getting highlighted. I think the narrative around him is incredible. I think that everybody's paying attention to Cole now. I think that it's he's off to an incredible start.
Well, there definitely wasn't like a national narrative around Cole Anthony, but what I can tell you just from looking at the accounts that Greg Anthony follows, if you're an Orlando Magic account in any way, shape, or form, Greg Anthony is following you. So Greg Anthony is very in tune with this team. He's very in tune with what in the Orlando Magic media, what we are saying. So that was a narrative amongst like Orlando Magic circles. So I kind of get that from Greg, but I don't think it was this like a very egregious narrative that we had about Cole last year. Apart from that, no one has said a bad thing about Cole. Everybody loves his personality. Everybody thinks he's a great kid and a hard worker. But last year, we just didn't see enough signs to see this coming, I think. And he's been incredible. If it wasn't for Cole, we might be like 0-23 or 0-22, however many games we played at this point. Like, without Cole, like, we probably don't win a game so far this year.
Yeah.
So, all right, Luke, I think that's going to just about do it for this week. What do you think? You got anything else?
No, I think that's it, man.
All right, guys. Well, again, this has been another episode of Shoot the Shot. We appreciate you guys for listening, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.